So, welcome to Theo De Blic'S tutorial season 4. So today we are in Argania in Spain and we are with the Iron 6 in S size. So I'm in the middle of the weight range. And we are gonna talk for this first episode of spiral dive. About spiral dives. So there is a lot of things to know about spiral dives. Basically, this is a really common maneuver. This is a maneuver that everyone have heard about, and I've heard many things about. And you all have heard the dangers of the spiral dive, like the high G's, the tricky exit, and so on. And so it's a dangerous maneuver because many pilots practice it and yet do not have the minimal requirements, minimal knowledge about spiral dive. So in this tutorial, that's what we are gonna talk about: how to spiral dive safely, how to learn to spiral dive in a safe way, and how to go down in a safe way in spiral dives. So first of all, let's talk about the dangers of spiral dives. So obviously you have the high G's, you have the tricky exits, you have the fact that you need to have a good pitch control to train deep spiral dive. You have the fact that you can get stuck in spiral dive somehow. Even so, we will see that it's most of the time a pilot mistake. So you have many dangers that we will see at the end of this tutorial. So about the plan for this tutorial, we're gonna talk first about how to learn spiral dive. So going from gradually deep small spiral to deep spirals, and how to train for the exit, training both types of exit. So one which I call the slow exit, which does not need pitch control, and watch which is a fast exit which needs pitch control. We are gonna first talk about the small spiral dives. So one thing you have to know about spiral dives is that you have some gradual levels of spiral dives, and some levels of spiral dive do not need that much skills. Basically, on a small spiral dive, you can exit without any technical skills, just by releasing the hands. You don't have any pitch to do. So that's what we are gonna start to work on first. Then we are gonna see how to cope with the G's in spiral dive, because obviously this is a tricky subject and you need to really make it work somehow, because if you can't cope with the G's, then you risk having like a loss of vision and such troubles, and you risk being really scared of spiral dives. While there is nothing to be scared about, but you need to take it like step by step to really train your body, train yourself to really fly it step by step. There is no shame about being scared about spiral dive. There is no shame about being uncomfortable in spiral dive. I was uncomfortable. Many people are uncomfortable. The G's you experience in spiral dive are, for most of us, completely new, and so it's totally normal to be a bit disturbed by them. But you can, as anything, you can teach your body to cope with those G's, and the only way is to go like step by step. So let's go for the small spiral dives. So first of all, to initiate a spiral dive, it's super important to always go weight shift first, okay? The bigger the spiral dive you want, the bigger your weight shift needs to be. But it's super important to always initiate weight shift first, and to always think to keep the weight shift. It's not because you are in deep spirals that you need to release the weight shift. Why? Because releasing the weight shift will help you exit, okay? So to initiate the spiral, you just need to go weight shift and brake, okay? You can put a bit more brake if the glider is not turning fast enough. The more brakes you put, the faster the glider is turning, okay? Right now I'm in a spiral dive. This spiral dive is not so fast, but it's still a heavy spiral dive, okay? To exit, I just need to release. I stay inside in the weight shift, and the spiral dive is perfectly easy, okay? The trick on a small spiral dive is to completely stay inside in the weight shift. If you exit with a strong weight shift to the outside, then you risk having a high pitch, while if you stay inside in the weight shift, you have no pitch at all. We can try with a slightly deeper spiral dive, okay? So let's go. Okay, perfect. You can go. It's slightly deeper, slightly deeper. Right now it's a bit faster. And I release and I stay inside. And I stay inside in the weight shift, and I stay inside. And I have some pitch, but nothing too crazy. That's one important thing. Most people, when they exit a spiral dive, actually, they go neutral in the weight shift, and so when they exit, they have a high pitch. If you stay inside in the weight shift, then your spiral dive is gonna not shoot that hard, Okay, so we have just seen that on a small spiral dive you have almost no technical skills required. You just can go hands up and release and just wait for it, and the glider will not overshoot. Okay, the next step is to gradually increase your spiral dives in order to go to super deep spiral dives. So what you have to know is that there are several grades of spiral. So you have like this small spiral that we just done. You have what we call deep spiral, which is kind of a deeper spiral, and then what you might call nose down spiral. So basically you are completely facing the ground, your leading edge is completely parallel to the ground and is going as fast as possible. And actually if you go deeper than that, it's called the SAT. The idea is to try to go gradually to this nose down spiral. To go to this nose down spiral, you get a lot of G's, and at some point in this nose down spiral, even for me, staying there for a few minutes is painful and is really not so nice. Okay, so it's important to go there gradually and to train your body and mind. And you can actually train to go down nose down spiral step by step. The idea is to enter a small spiral and to increase it gradually and release and increase and release. And basically what you are doing is always trying to make the spiral go faster and slow it down, and go faster and slow it down, and go faster and slow it down, to increase the amount of G, the amount of speed you take without getting scared, always in control. That's super important. And obviously before you try that, it's super important to keep in mind the altitude you have. So it's also a good exercise to be able to check your altitude while you are doing this exercise, because you go step by step, so you can actually train to see, okay, I lost this amount of altitude and so on. So that's quite important. So what you do, you start hands up for this exercise as before. You put the weight shift first, you go with the inside brake, okay? Then the spiral is going a bit faster, okay? It's faster, you brake, and as soon as it exits, you go again. And you can try to go faster, 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 you brake, and you try to go again. Faster, 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 you brake, and you try to go again. And you can try to go a bit faster every time. What you can also do is every time it goes fast, you release, and you go. You release, and you go. It's a good exercise to feel the G's first. And the thing is that as soon as you want to exit, you just go to the spiral you are comfortable with, and you release it. Okay? The thing is like to go gradually, so you go step by step and you control with the inside and you go to whatever you feel comfortable with. It's important to never push too far and always go to the state you are comfortable with and slightly increase and release. Slightly increase and release. And you go like this, step by step. And as you can see, we had no really technical skills needed. The only thing that you need to do is as soon as you want to exit, you go back to the speed of the spiral you were comfortable with. And with this speed of the spiral you are comfortable with, you just really let go, hands up, and the glider will exit perfectly. It's also an exercise to train the slow exit spiral that we will see right away. So about the spiral dive, we have just seen that you can go on some really light spirals without really having to control anything. The exit is fairly easy. What's important to know is that as soon as you enter deeper spirals, then you get a really strong shoot. And the deeper the spiral is, the trickier the exit is gonna be, okay? So to cope with that, we have two types of exit in spiral dive. The first one is what I call the slow exit. So in order to train the slow exit spiral, what you have to do is basically to repeat the same process that we just did, but just for the exit. So you can go to a deep down spiral, and instead of releasing straight away, you release slowly, okay, until the glider starts exiting. And as soon as the glider starts exiting, you put a little bit of brake gradually to finish your turn. And the idea is to end the turn like if you were thermaling. So the speed of the end of the turn is like if I was thermaling. So for this exercise, you go again hands up everywhere, okay? You go for the weight shift, the spiral. As soon as you are in deep spiral, you release the inside hand, and when the glider exits, you just wait for the glider to exit, and then you go slowly weight shift. You increase the weight shift in the inside, and you put a bit of inside brake again. Okay, let's try it. So I go for a deep down spiral. Okay, I brake, the glider is going into spiral, going deep, 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 deep. I'm in deep spiral, I release, I wait, and I put some brake, some brake, some brake, some brake, like I was thermaling. That's quite easy. One thing that often happens and often occurs is that when you are doing this slow exit, you catch the drag of your previous spiral slightly on the tip. It happens quite often, at least to me, and you will see in the caption right here, it's actually no problem. You just wait for it, just go hands up, and that's it. Fairly easy. So you go in a spiral, weight shift first, you put some brake, okay? Always hands up in the outside. Okay, perfect. Then you go into a deeper spiral, deeper spiral, deeper spiral, you release, and I enter again. I enter slowly again. And I have no control to do, nothing. That's perfect. We've just seen the slow exit in spirals. So basically the slow or the soft exit in spiral are really useful to exit in a slow way, so you don't have to control the pitch or anything, and they are really important. I think they are the most used exit in my opinion. I personally almost never exit with a pitch exit. Okay, it's in my opinion super tricky and danger for nothing kind of exit, but now we are gonna see the pitch exit. So the pitch exit is super important in a way. Why? Because if you fail a slow exit, if you get stuck in spiral for anything, you might end up in a pitch exit. So it's super important to master them as soon as you master spiral, because you will see it's not tricky, it's not difficult, it's not complicated, and for most of the time it's just a mindset problem rather than a real technical difficulty. So first of all, you have to know one thing, is that it's almost impossible to get stuck in spiral most of the time, and for almost any gliders it's a pilot mistake. So basically I've seen pilots telling me that they were stuck in spiral, the glider did not want to exit, and when you watch the video you see that they still have some inside brake. You see that they are still in weight shift in the inside. So except some really low A and B gliders which have a tendency sometimes to stay stuck, most of the time it's a pilot mistake. And even if a glider is stuck, actually the smallest input to the outside usually makes the glider exit. So it's super important to keep that in mind, that as soon as you release, even on a deep spiral, the glider will exit. That being said, when you go in a deep spiral and you exit, it's super important to always stay inside in the weight shift, as I said before. Because if you are a bit lost and you exit and don't stay inside in the weight shift, then the glider will exit really high with a high pitch, and you will have to control the pitch, and that's why we are gonna work on the pitch exit. Okay? About the pitch exit, one really important thing is to remember that as soon as the glider is shooting, you need to be hands up. You need to be perfectly hands up when the glider is shooting. As soon as the glider is in your back, you need to be hands up. Okay? Why? Because if you keep a little amount of brake, the glider will shoot much further and much faster than if you had no brakes at all. Okay? So you want to train the pitch exit. What's the first exercise that you need to do is to go to a not so deep spiral, okay, a quite soft spiral, and you release the inside end, okay, but you stay some weight shift on the inside, okay. You don't go all the way to the outside, you don't go to neutral, you stay some weight shift in the inside, and you will have a small pitch to control. It's important to start this way, okay. So let's go. I go to my spiral, I'm always as before, hands up, okay. I'm in my spiral. Okay, perfect. The spiral is going deeper. I release, and I stay inside, and I control the chute. Okay? This chute was really small and I even didn't need to control it. However, it's important to control them just to get the feeling. As you can see, I touched the glider only after it started going forward, only after it passed above my head. So never brake the glider before because it will just increase the chute. And when I brake the glider, I go on a fast input until the glider stops. Okay? When you want to train for a deeper chute, it's super important. Never brakes in a soft way, in a slow way. It's really like you brake strong and hard until the glider stops and you release slowly. Okay? So let's go for a spiral with a stronger chute. So basically I go into the spiral, so the glider is going, I go, okay, then I will go into a deep spiral, I exit, and then I wait, and I control the chute, and I release on the chute is stopped, okay? As you can see, I controlled with the outside the exit, so I made the glider exit, and as soon as it exited, I stayed a little bit on the inside. Why? It's to avoid the glider going to the other direction, okay? So you stay a little bit on the inside. Let's do it again. Okay, so we go, the glider is going into deep spiral, okay, I'm now in deep spiral, and I exit, I go into the inside, I'm hands up, and I stop the chute, the glider is stopped, and I release. Super important to stop the chute in a deep way, otherwise the glider will not stop. If you don't put a fast input until the glider stops and then release slowly, the glider will just go forward, okay? So it's super important. All right, so we have just seen how to control the pitch on spiral. So again, what's important, always hands up and always wait for the chute to happen before you stop it, okay? If you stop it before, you just increase the chute. Another important thing is to always manage to be hands up as soon as possible, okay? So as soon as you control that, you feel that you are on a straight pitch and you are not going to one direction or the others, go hands up and let the glider shoot. Why? Because if you keep the brakes too long and if you try to control the pitch for too long, then you will just create a bigger pitch and the shoot you will have to control is gonna be amazingly strong. So that's why it's super important to go hands up as soon as possible. So as I said, the one important thing is to not go to the other direction in the spiral. It's to really be able to keep a straight exit, to have a really straight pitch. So now I will go for a deep spiral with a really heavy pitch, and you will see how difficult it's gonna be to stop the glider. Always possible, but difficult. This brings me to the sometimes problem of the people saying that they can't stop it. So remember that you can always stop your wing. It's not possible to not have enough strength to stop your wing. Most people, they brake until there and they think they can't go further. Actually, you can go all the way down. Remember that I learned spiral at 13 years old and I had super small arms, really weak, and I was a fat kid with no muscles, and I still was able to stop strong shoots. In spiral, I was even able to stop acro tricks. Okay? So you have no excuses about not being physically able to stop a wing, whether you are a 40-kilo girl or a man, it doesn't matter. You can stop your glider, it's only in your head that you can't. Okay? So let's go for a deep spiral with a strong pitch exit. So again, weight shift first, I go for the spiral. Okay, I let it go. Okay, and I exit. And I brake. And I need to brake a lot to stop it, okay? As you can see, I was almost hands down if I wanted to stop the glider. We can do it again. Okay, so I go, weight shift and brake, I go. Okay, I'm in deep spiral and I exit. And I stop it. And that's okay. Okay, as you can see, I almost needed to stall it to stop it. So that's why it's super important to not keep brake during the pitch. Now let's talk about the dangers of the spiral. So basically you can be stuck in spiral. So it's a common thing. When it happens and you get stuck in, it's super important to remember that most of the time it's a pilot mistake. So if you are stuck in, probably you are doing something wrong. Either you have some inside brake, or maybe you have the inside weight shift and your glider is sensible to that, so you need to really go outside. You know, it's impossible to stay stuck in spiral, okay? So if you really want to exit, you will exit. Even if your glider have tendency to be neutral spiral, so it stays in the rotation, as soon as you do something, it should exit quite easily. However, if you tried everything, you are completely lost and you don't know what to do, one thing you can do is actually to brake both sides, okay? You brake both sides super fast. It will create a messy exit. You probably are gonna get some collapse, or somehow you are gonna get an uncontrolled exit, but you will exit the spiral. And in this case, it's super important because you have to remember that on a deep spiral, you are going around 20 meters per second down. So 1000 meters is 50 seconds. So you need to react fast. If you are stuck, you need to react straight away. So let's go for a deep spiral and I will show you that the exit, if you brake both sides, is fairly easy. Okay, you go. So now I'm in the nose down spiral and I brake both sides and I keep braking both sides, okay? And I keep the brake. You see, I didn't move my hands at any moment. The brake stayed in the same spot, and actually, you see the spiral exited super easily. I don't advise this exercise, on a normal spiral exit, because then you lose a lot of control. If you get turbulences and so on, it's not so good. But you see that I didn't have to do anything otherwise after I braked, okay? If you are lost, if you are completely stuck, you need to brake a lot. Same as the inside brake, you brake the same amount and the glider will exit by itself, okay? Sometimes the exit will be messy, you will exit in one direction, maybe get a collapse. Most of the time it will be quite soft, but you will be safe. A danger of the spiral exit is also on the slow exit. Sometimes you can actually re-enter the spiral. So you want to do a slow exit and you enter too strong and you re-enter the spiral. So there is nothing to worry about. You can just repeat the process until you get it right. That's important to get enough altitude when you start the exercise if you are not perfectly sure of yourself. So let's see. You go weight shift inside and brake, okay? I go to nose down spiral, okay? I'm in nose down spiral, I exit, and I go again, and actually I go again in spiral. So then I just repeat the process and just go easy. You just repeat the process until you are thermaling again. Oh, I just got my drag. So basically you see it's quite easy. As soon as you make a mistake and you re-enter too fast, you just have to repeat the process again and until you get it right. And if somehow you get completely lost, you brake both sides and you exit as good as you can, okay? Another danger of spiraling and missing the exit is getting a front collapse on the pitch exit. So basically if you don't have enough control in the pitch. If this happens to you, what's really important is to just go hands up, wait for the collapse to happen, to finish, and do not touch the brake until the glider is flying, okay? Most of the time, almost 90% of the time, nothing else will happen. If you get a cravat or something, then think about your rescue or to solve the cravat with the stabilo line, which is here. But otherwise, normally 90% of the case, you go hands up and nothing will happen after a front collapse. I tried several times to get a front collapse on the Ion 6 and I could not really manage. So I will try again and we will see. Okay. Brake, the glider is going, boom, boom, boom. And I exit. Okay, so this is the closest I've come to getting a front collapse with the Ion 6. It's, as you can see, it's not really efficient in front collapsing, which is, I think, a really good point. Another thing which is really common in spiral is when you exit with your body and brakes and do not counter enough, then you climb a bit high above the glider on the other side and you risk getting an outside tip collapse. It's also a really common mistake. So this is something that I really hope that you do not make this mistake, because sometimes this collapse can result in small cravats. So it's quite important to not make it. Let's try it so you can have a look. So basically you enter the spiral, okay, you go into the deep spiral, okay, and you exit, and then you go a bit high, and you see I lose tension in the inside. If you do this in a really high way, okay, then you will get a really stronger collapse. If you get a stronger collapse, then it's not good, okay? Well, then it's important to wait, hands up to see if the collapse you open, and if you have a cravat, immediately counter the cravat, like we did in the auto rotation tutorial last year, and solve the cravat with the outside tip, okay? Another mistake that you can do going into the spiral is basically not going with weight shift, going with only brakes and going too hard. So basically you want to go into the spiral, you put a lot of brakes, and then you go into a spin, okay? If this happens to you, the easiest way to go hands up, the thing is that on a normal glider, sometimes the chute can be quite strong. So the best is either if you have control above stall, but if you are practicing spiral, probably not, or to just go hands up and wait for it, you might get a small collapse. So when you enter the spin, the thing is that it's important to recognize it straight away. So for example, you want to enter the spiral, you brake a lot, and you have the spin, you release straight away. As soon as you feel that the glider is spinning, it's important to release straight away. Because if you stay in the spin, you will see that the glider needs a lot of control. So it's important as soon as you feel the glider spinning to release straight away, okay? If you release straight away, that's where you will have your highest chances of managing this exit. So that's it about today's tutorial about spiral dive. Hopefully it will be useful to you, and hopefully you will be able to be more comfortable in spiral. And I hope you will keep in mind that it's still a dangerous maneuver to perform without altitude. So always keep as high as possible, make sure that you have the right altitude to do the job, and never ever forget to pull your rescue if needed. If you are stuck in spiral and you don't understand what's going on, if you are completely lost, feel free to pull your rescue. It's okay. Rescue opens perfectly well in spiral. You have nothing to worry about, and it's not gonna be a wild ride for anything. So, okay, super important for you. If you are scared, pull your rescue. Otherwise, have a good one. Train safe spiral. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Have a nice day, and bye bye.